Shh. You're good. Okay. Shh, quiet, please. We will resume. Chair, we're ready to begin.
Thank you. Good afternoon and welcome to today's hearing on implementing the state class size law in New York City. I am Rita Joseph, Chair of the Education Committee. Thank you to everyone present here and to those of you who are testifying remotely. At today's hearing, you'll also hear testimony on introduction number 45, which I sponsored. We will hear more about this legislation shortly. Research has shown that small class sizes provide students with many short and long-term benefits. In addition to improving reading and math achievements, especially for disadvantaged students, small class sizes are linked to higher graduation and college enrollment rates, as well as higher future earnings. As a forever educator for over 20 years, I know firsthand the benefits of smaller classes. Small classes allow teachers to provide more individual attention to students, resulting in improved students' learning and behavior. They also enable teachers to spend more time on instruction and less on classroom management. Class size also has a big impact on teachers' working conditions, which in turn impact a school's district ability to retain and recruit teachers. In fact, class size is a key issue referenced in recent teacher strikes across the country. As teachers are overworked and exhausted, conditions especially difficult in the wake of a pandemic, as teachers grapple with classrooms now packed with students' increasing mental health needs. In 2022, after decades of advocacy, a state law was passed requiring that class sizes in New York public schools be reduced in all grades over 5 years, beginning this school year. The New York City Public Schools posted an initial plan for implementation of the law in September of 2023, months before the release of the class size working group report in December. So none of their recommendations were included in New York City Public Schools plan. Additionally, New York City Public School plan is vague. It only lays out a number of potential actions that could be taken to reduce class size, but don't specify which action it will take aside from further analysis and planning. For example, New York City Public School has currently identified 400 to 500 schools that may not be able to meet the class size caps given their current space and enrollment. New York City Public School plan merely states that they are working closely with SCA to develop estimates for the size of the capital need, which will depend on strategies used to achieve compliance. Both New York City Public Schools and SCA have estimated that huge increases in capital funding will be needed to create enough space to meet the new class size cap. Yet, SCA proposed FY25 to 29 capital plan include $4 billion for new capacity and class size reduction, which is $2 billion less than the current capital plan. Regarding enrollment, New York City Public School plans to identify potential changes to enrollment policy that could shift students from overcrowded classrooms to underutilized schools, but make it clear that their analysis is intended to impede school choice. However, New York City Public Schools do not address the issue that school choice is determined in large part by admission policies, particularly by screen schools that admit students on the basis of high academic performance, which not only result in both overcrowded and underutilized schools, but also racially, economically segregated schools. Additionally, families typically choose a school on the basis of its students' performance, which is highly correlated to students' family income level. This explains New York City Public Schools data and shows schools serving higher income students are more overcrowded. Unfortunately, the fact that New York City Public School does not discuss the impact of admission policies or the correlation between income level and achievement leads many to draw faulty conclusions. One of the most concerning of such conclusions is found in the minority report written by Parent Representative, which asserts that students attending overcrowded schools perform better academically than students attending under-enrolled schools. This is based on a data analysis showing a strong statistical relationship between students in more crowded classrooms and stronger academic performance. Frankly, I can't think of a better example of data that shows correlations, not causation. But to simply, current school choices policies are creating overcrowded schools, and New York City Public School is choosing to do nothing about it. Ultimately, New York City Public School plan projects, schools will be in compliance with the law for the first 2 years. Since approximately 40% of schools were already in compliant, so it assumes no major action will be needed to be taken until 3 years and beyond. At today's hearing, the committee wants to know what step is New York City Public School taking to ensure that schools currently meeting the class size caps remain in compliance. We also want to know which of the class size working group recommendation that New York City Public Schools intend to implement, and when will it release an updated plan that incorporates these recommendations. Finally, we look forward to hearing testimony on Introduction 45, which is a bill that would require New York City Public Schools to report actual class sizes and expand reports on the amount of students in special programs in New York City Public Schools. Thank you to the committee staff as well as my own staff for all of their work they put into today's hearing. I'd like to remind everyone who wishes to testify in person today that you must fill out a witness slip, which is located on the desk of the Sergeant at Arms near the entrance of the room. If you have already registered in advance to allow as many people as possible to testify, testimony will be limited to 3 minutes per person, whether you're testifying on Zoom or in person. I would like to acknowledge my colleagues who are here, Councilmember Lewis, Councilmember Dinowitz, Councilmember Brewer, Councilmember Gutierrez, and Councilmember Hanks, and Councilmember Stevens. Now, without further, I'd like to turn over to the first witness panel, which will be Senator John Liu and Senator Robert Jackson. Turn to the committee counsel, Nadia Jean-Francois, to administer the oath.
Oh, not yet. Senator John Liu, whenever you're ready, you may begin your testimony. You may begin your testimony.
Oh, you don't want to swear me in? Okay. I thought,
Me too, because Senator Liu said he wants to be sworn in.
that's okay. I'm going to tell the truth anyway. That's what we're here for. Good afternoon, esteemed members of the City Council Education Committee and Chairperson Rita Joseph. I first want to thank you for this honor of testifying before this august committee, and I want to thank Chair Joseph for hauling my ass into City Hall to talk about these very important issues. And I also want to thank, and we'll hear from my great colleague, Senator Jackson, as well. This issue is of grave importance to the school kids of our city. Chair Joseph already mentioned a number of reasons why small class sizes are what we need here in New York City, and I agree with all of those, from better education to better teacher results, a whole litany of reasons why we need to reduce class sizes. But I would submit that the most important reason is complying with the state constitution. Our state constitution requires that the state provide a sound basic education for all school kids in the state of New York, certainly including the city of New York. And that constitution was interpreted by the highest court of New York some 20 years ago to say that New York City, at the beginning, New York City was not providing a sound basic education because of a number of factors, excessively large class sizes being one of the main factors. And so after years of litigation led by my colleague, Senator Jackson at the time, this issue was resolved. The issue of what the state and New York City needs to do to resolve, to provide a sound basic education, that issue was resolved. But the money was not resolved. The amount of foundation aid that was calculated from the beginning had never been fully funded by the state of New York. And in fact, when Robert Jackson and I were running for state senate at the same time in 2018, that was the biggest item on both of our platforms, that we needed to fully fund foundation aid. And we didn't do it in the first year, but after a couple of years, we were able to fully fund foundation aid. This, in fact, is the first fiscal year, state fiscal year, that foundation aid is fully funded. And foundation aid was always meant to provide that sound basic education. It was always meant to help the city of New York pay for reducing class sizes. So the idea that this is an unfunded mandate, there's no basis in reality whatsoever. There is a problem with a discontinuity when there's a change of administration, which leads to a bigger issue that we may have time to talk about. But this has always been part of foundation aid. It's been in the calculation of foundation aid, this being the cost of reducing class sizes in New York City. So now that we've done our job in the state, now it's time for the city to do its job of providing a sound basic education. Madam Chair, I'm here ready, willing, and able to answer any and all questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Liu. Senator Jackson.
Good afternoon. I'm State Senator Robert Jackson, and I represent the 31st Senatorial District of Northern Manhattan, Washington Heights, Inwood, and Marble Hill. And part of my district is in the Northwest Bronx, District 10 and some District 9. So I extend my gratitude to the Committee on Education and Chair Rita Josephs for convening this crucial hearing. Having once chaired the Education Committee myself, I know the challenges you face. Yet I also know the profound importance of your leadership for all New York City students. And my advocacy with class size began as a parent activist, advocating for my own children in overcrowded classrooms and schools. And as president of Community School Board 6 of Manhattan, I became acutely aware of the fiscal inequities evident in overcrowded school districts. I represented one of the most burdened school districts in the state at that time. We were busing kids to the Bronx and to District 5 and District 3, all over the place because we were so overcrowded. But consequently, inspired by the urgent need for change, our attorney, Michael Rebell, and I took the lead in assembling a diverse coalition of community members, education advocates, and parents. And this united effort led to the creation of the Campaign for Fiscal Equity to address these disparities. The CFE lawsuit against the state of New York highlighted the detrimental impact of oversized classes on education quality and the opportunity for a sound basic education. And we fought over a decade to secure billions of dollars for New York City schools, which was affirmed, as my colleague said, John Liu, by the highest court in the state of New York, the Court of Appeals, ruling that found, quote, tens of thousands of students placed in overcrowded classrooms is enough to represent systemic failure. That's end quote. And after enduring years of past governors playing political games with students' constitutional rights to a sound basic education, Governor Hochul committed to fully fund foundation aid and propelled state elected officials like myself, along with Assemblymember Joanne Simon and Senator John Liu, who chaired the Senate New York City Education Committee, to strengthen the existing education law as the contract for excellence. And the new law marks a historic commitment to a responsive, individualized education, yet our work is not complete without New York City plan these changes and enact those changes. And currently, the Department of Education reluctance and fear-mongering rhetoric could delay efforts to reduce class size by 2028. And despite New York City receiving record-high funding through the foundation aid formula, critics overlook the financial and educational benefits of reducing class size. According to Alan Kruger, chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors, every dollar invested in smaller class size yields approximately $2 in return. Moreover, reduced rates of grade retention and special education referrals further underscores the long-term advantages of this approach. And when I decided to sue New York State, I was told over and over again it couldn't be done. Well, we did it. When I said I was going to walk to Albany for all children, there were doubters. Really? Are you going to run? Well, we did it. We went the distance. Although we won the lawsuit and Foundation Aid became law, former Governor Andrew Cuomo said we couldn't afford to fully fund the formula and that quote-unquote CFE was a ghost of the past. That ghost is hunting us right now. Where would our children and educators of this great state be if people like me and my colleagues John Liu, teachers, principals, parents, and activists listened to the naysayers and relented? Our past victories remind us that delaying a quality education for all students is not an option. Underscoring the compliance with the class size law is non-negotiable. And in the state legislature, we will remain committed to supporting students' education. It's important that the mayor of the Department of Education act on the recommendations offered by the class size working group, which was co-chaired by my Chief of Staff, Joanna Garcia. 9 months, they worked hard and long in order to come up with a plan that the majority of them agreed to. Progress in meeting the 2028 deadline should not be tied to mayoral control. This is a mandate, no matter who's in office, to get it done. And I asked New York City Council, with you, Chair Joseph, to stand with us in compliance with the law, and I thank you for the opportunity to come in front of you in order to express how important this is to all of you and all of us here. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Jackson. It's important to me. 2 decades in a classroom with 35 students in front of me, so I get it. So my question to you both is, I know how important this issue is to you both, so thank you for your continued advocacy on behalf of New York City students and for finally ensuring that the state fully funds foundational aid. However, as you both know, foundation aid funds rely on outdated 2007 formula that does not take into account the financial needs of our schools today. Do you believe that a study is needed to reevaluate the formula, and what efforts are being taken by the state to ensure that the formula is updated, properly reflect current costs?
Madam Chair, the answer is yes. We are working together with the State Education Department so that we can, at long last, update the foundation aid formula. Our first task, quite honestly, was to fully fund foundation aid. And now that that is finally done, our task now, our attention turns now to reformulating and updating the foundation aid formula. But make no mistake, that foundation aid formula from the get-go was always included costs and funds to reduce class sizes specifically in New York City, based on the Department of Education's own numbers at the time. And it will continue to be part of foundation aid formula no matter what kinds of updates we have. So once again, reducing class sizes is provided for in the foundation aid formula. And we are going to work very closely with the State Education Department to update that as necessarily as possible.
But in the last budget, when the governor spoke, when they talked about the formula, that New York stand to lose a lot of money. How are we going to fix that so we're making sure that New York gets its full fare?
That's a great point that you bring up. The governor, in her executive budget, proposed, I guess, 2 major changes. One is a change from a decades-old practice that does not reduce a school district's budget from year to year based on things such as enrollment changes and changes in the makeup of their student population. She is proposing to do away with that, and what that's going to do is it's going to actually cut, in many cases significantly, the budgets of over half of the school districts, about 370 school districts throughout the state of New York. It will have some impact on New York City as well, as I'm sure the Department of Education can attest to. The other major change is a change in the definition of inflation. Schools in their in the foundation aid calculation, there's a reflection of inflation, cost increases from one year to the next. Well, the governor's executive budget redefines inflation not only from, it redefines the inflation from the change in costs from last year to this year, to the average cost increases over the last 10 years, which really is arbitrary and has no basis in the reality that school districts, whether it be the New York City Department of Education or other school districts around the state, have experienced. So I feel confident that Senator Jackson and I and our state Senate colleagues, and I think many in the Assembly, will look to reject those changes that Governor Hochul has proposed.
And
Yes,
let me
Senator.
comment to you on that. The state budget is $232 billion. And what we've asked for in the budgetary process is $1 million in order to fund the new process to determine how much does it cost to provide every child an opportunity for a sound basic education. $1 million. And it has to be done, or else all hell is going to break loose. Let me just say that. And knowing, for example, that at the state joint budget hearings that were held, both Democrats and Republicans was extremely upset about the cuts in education. And that's something that we're going to fight together. And if we stand united, then we should be successful. As you know, you may have heard from the Department of Education here in New York City, the impact of those proposed cuts was about $31 or $32 million. And so that's a lot of money. It may not look like a whole lot of money in a budget of $35 billion, but that's a lot of money. And school districts, for example, there was one school district, upstate New York, they only have about, rounded off, 525 students, and they got cut in the budget 42.5%. It's outrageous. Let me just say that. And so, staying united, we should overcome that overall. But we need everybody's help, everyone's help in making that change.
Absolutely. I'm just going to bring something back real quick. When we did FSF funding in New York, we added weights. Is there any consideration when you do the foundational aid formula to add weights?
Yes, I think with your leadership, Madam Chair, and the efforts of the Department of Education, New York City did well in updating the Fair Student Funding formula. The foundation aid formula is, in many respects, similar to the Fair Student Funding formula. I think a major difference is that the foundation aid formula also reflects the ability of a local school district and the local government to pay its fair share. That's certainly going to be a point of contention among our colleagues in the state legislature.
And what does maintenance of effort play into this part as well?
Maintenance of effort is something that we take very seriously in the state legislature. And in fact, quite honestly, we have been in discussions with some of our colleagues, even fellow Democrats, who have hesitated to provide additional state funding for school districts, including New York City, under the apprehension that the local school districts, such as the DOE, would cut the amount of money that the local government was providing, even as we increased state funding. And that has unfortunately become a reality, where it does seem like the city of New York has reduced their share of funding to schools, even as every single year we continue to substantially increase the amount of state funding for New York City schools. So maintenance of effort means that as we increase state funding, the city's proportion of the overall city budget geared towards education should not be reduced. In other words, should not be simply replaced by state funding. A common term that is used is we want to make sure state funding is supplementing, not supplanting city money for education.
Thank you, Senator Lieu. I'm going to now pass it on to Councilmember Stevens.
Well, good afternoon. And I just want to start off by saying thank you guys for continuously being strong advocates and fighters for our young people. And, I know I'm biased, but my Senator Robert Jackson, thank you for all your work. And I obviously you too, Senator Wu. But just wanting to say just thank you, because I think that sometimes it does get lost in some of these conversations about like the dedication and the efforts that you guys have been making for a number of years and just kind of setting the foundation. But I do have a couple of questions